What up, everybody? Welcome to a special interview type project here today. And joining me is the one and only John Roo of the Retro Room Games. So, if you have not heard of this amazing company, they specialize in releasing games that may have been canceled back in the early 90s to 2000s for your favorite retro systems, as well as publishing independent homebrew titles for different systems, such as Game Boy, Saturn, Dreamcast, and N64. So welcome, John. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ryan. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad we could finally do this discussion. I've been meaning to do it for a long time and finally stop being lazy.
Hey, I've struggled from the same concept sometimes, man. It's like one of those things you gotta get over the hump sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend, because the world needs to know who is running this company right now. Like, just give us a little quick rundown, or as long as you want.
I'm a dad. I love gaming. I'm a musician. I was a musician before I
Oh,
owned this
cool.
company, so I was really into playing music. I think maybe the technical side of music is what got me into wanting to learn how to program. So yeah, I really love what I do. It's a lot of fun. It's
Oh,
a really
that's
cool
awesome.
passion of mine.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know you did music before this. That's really nice. I mean, I met you obviously after you started doing this. Um,
Right.
so yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, being a dad, that's a thing. It's a busy thing.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun thing. Interesting. I'm a girl dad, and my daughter is a year and a half,
Oh,
so that's a
beautiful.
lot of fun. She's running and talking, and it's a blast.
Yeah, our youngest daughter just turned 2 last week or week and a half ago.
All right.
So,
Hey, we got a daughter near the same age,
oh yeah,
so
the baby girls are fun.
they are. Yeah, it's my only child, and she's great, dude. It's a blast.
Oh man. Yeah, so so fun. But getting back on topic, because we could talk about our kids for hours, I'm sure. But um,
For sure.
I think only you and me would
Yeah.
really get something out of that part of it.
Right, right.
um, so, what made you decide to start pursuing the retro room games?
Okay, so my dad was he's a programmer. Very like 30, 40 years into programming,
Oh,
and he was
impressive.
trying to yeah, he's like amazing. Like he's really a solid programmer, and he was trying to teach. I wasn't interested in it. I was a musician. I like wanted to party all the time, and I didn't have any kids, and I wasn't married, so I was like, I was just having fun with my life, and I had nothing to relate with him. There's no
Yeah,
relate like we didn't relate very much.
yeah,
So
I
as
get
I
it.
got older, we were trying to find this relation, and he was like, "Hey, like, let me show you how these microcontrollers work." And he started teaching me how to program these microcontrollers to like turn lights on and off and make alarms and stuff like that. And so I'm starting to learn this, and I'm like, okay, how can I? Because it interested me. It was cool. I was like, this is neat. But I'm not like really that into electronics, but I'm into gaming. I'm like, okay, how can I pivot this in a way that's going to like benefit me to where like I'm enjoying it more? Well, I came to find out that programming in general kind of works across the board. You can program for microcontrollers, you can program for video games. So I made a game, a couple of games, and they failed miserably. And then I made a Game Boy game, and there's people on the internet who were asking me to publish the game. They said, we want physical copies. We like this game. It was a game called Quest Arrest.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, cool. So I made 100 copies of this game, and they sold out in the first day. So I was like, okay, there's something here, something going on here. So I started making more copies, and um, they continued to sell out, and I was like, okay, let me make another game. I was like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And at the same time, COVID was happening. So I was an event coordinator. Like I was a musician before, but I did event coordination. The events went downhill.
Oh yeah.
Nobody was doing events because the whole world shut off.
Yup.
now I'm broke, and I'm like, okay, I think, thank goodness that I'm getting this money from this like gaming endeavor. Otherwise, I'd be starving. Like I don't know, working at Taco Bell, or I don't know, do whatever I can. I don't have very many skills, So it worked out in my favor, and I just kind of pursued it from there and just chased it. That's really how it started.
Yeah, and I remember the whole beginning of the Quest Arrest run. Like that's what's fun. I didn't realize
Mhm.
that was actually the first one, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like so I mean it's still a relatively new endeavor. Like that's pretty awesome how much
sure,
stuff that you've been able to get out and
yeah.
um especially with the titles that were canceled back in the day like
Oh
Ellen.
yeah, the licensing,
Yeah,
yeah.
the licensing
Hmm.
aspect of it. And I mean that aspect alone is just really impressive because I mean I talked to a number of different companies that deal with licensing things out like that, and I know how friggin' complicated it is. And so the fact that you've been
Some of
able
them
to
come
pull
up
it
to me and they're
off,
like, yeah,
like
yeah. Some of those companies come up to me and they're like, "This is nuts, dude. How did you do this?" And I'm like, "I don't even know, man." Like, I think some of the people see the companies see the passion because whenever I first started the retro room, I wasn't doing it for money. This isn't for money. Like, so once I got to a comfortable place with money, I just threw all the money back towards the company to try to do things like that. I'm like, okay, I don't need to like make great wealth or anything, but what I can do is I can help the video game industry, and I can help bring some of these games back to life. And that passion I think bled, and people could see it bleeding.
oh
So
yeah, I
I,
mean that's what
that,
got my attention directed your way towards your stuff. Definitely. Just
yeah,
I remember the build up for Quest Arrest, and then I think the next one that I really paid attention to was Gelatinous' Kickstarter, which I ended up backing, and
yeah,
so I mean I got my copy on the
yeah,
shelf
yeah.
here. Um, and
That's
then
cool.
the port of Chex Quest for Genesis and
Thanks,
Super Nintendo. So I mean
Chips
I
challenge, right, right.
yeah. I said Chex Quest. Wow,
I
that
wish I
is
had Chex
that
Quest.
is something else. That was what limited
That's a
run
good
games
one.
did. That's what limited run
Yeah.
games did. We're not talking about them. No, Chips Challenge ported for
Mhm.
Super Nintendo and Genesis. Love it. Gotta love the live screw ups there. Got it. It's good. It's good stuff. Um,
No worries.
but yeah, so I mean that game was a big deal to me as a kid on Windows 3.1, and then obviously
Same.
it was a Atari Lynx game originally, if memory serves.
Right. I grew up playing it on my Windows computer, and I was really excited. I'll tell you how I initially got that license. So, I was initially trying to get a license for Ski Free,
Oh
and
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
yes.
hardcore pursue. I was in touch with Windows, trying to get this license for Ski Free, dude. And I reached out to the original creator, and I was just like on my knees begging for it. I was like, please, I want to do something with Ski Free. And there's a company called the Evercade, and they're like, well, we don't have a connection for you to work with Ski Free, but the owner Andrew is his name. He was like, I know a guy who I can link you up with who might be able to help you get some licenses for other games. He helped us, and he's just in it for passion, and I can see that you're passionate. I just wanted to make a new Ski Free, or whatever. It was like, it wasn't like a money thing or anything. It was like, dude, just give me the license. I want to build another Ski Free game. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I don't care if it makes me $0 or $1,000,000. And again, they saw that and they're like, okay, well, let me introduce you to this guy. He feels the same way as you do about these kind of games, and he kind of introduced me to some other people, and Chips Challenge fell in my lap. The idea of it, and I was already in communication with a developer, Alec Mall. He's a French developer,
Okay.
and he's created a bunch of great games. He works with Second Dimension,
Oh.
that company, um,
Okay.
but he's done a lot of like his own solo projects, and he had already worked on Chips Challenge, and I was like, hey man, let me take you and put you with the company, and let's publish this game, and I have the license for it, and he was all for it. He was really cool about it, and that's where the magic happened.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's you base the ports off of the original Lynx version, if I remember correctly, too.
Right.
So
Right.
a little bit different than what we
Yeah.
remember on Windows, but I mean, it's still Chip's challenge, and
Yeah.
it's still
I would
awesome.
have loved to snag those Windows graphics, but I'm afraid of the lawsuit that Windows would come spank on me. You know.
Definitely. No, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
solid port. I mean, I have the Super Nintendo version. I've absolutely loved it. I never picked
Cool.
up the Genesis version, so what I've
I'll have to send you a
seen
copy.
was also
Yeah.
solid. And
Yeah. I'll have to send it to you, man.
but like it's just great that these things are existing because otherwise they wouldn't, and it's officially
Right.
licensed and it's a
Yeah.
actual game. It's an actual release. It's not some just
Like homebrew or
AliExpress,
something.
Etsy
Yeah.
homebrew.
Right.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with those for individual developers and stuff like that, of
I
course.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
it's
it.
where a lot of good stuff gets their start. But the fact
Right.
that it could be legitimized and distributed, like
Right.
that's what's exciting. That's what's impressive, and the fact that again you were able to pull it off so quickly. Because I mean, Chips Challenge. Why do I keep wanting to say Chex Quest? Chips Challenge. Like that one released like year and a half, 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very quick. Yeah. It was quick moving. It was like, I think it was the Chip Challenge was, I think, the second game that I released, that through the company, and
Yeah,
maybe it was maybe the third, but yeah, it happened relatively quickly, and like I said, it was just kind of a miracle that it happened. It just happened like through communication with me wanting to do ski free,
that's just
which I
funny.
still want to do. Hey, Microsoft, if you want to give me that license, then I'll get you a ski free. I don't know if I'll be able to put money in your pocket, but I'll definitely get you a new ski free game.
I can guarantee someone at Microsoft watches every single video I upload because of the emulation stuff.
Okay, yeah, they're watching you too
All
close,
right, what's
man.
this guy doing?
Well, I want to do it. I want to do it legit. Let me just let me build a ski free
Oh,
game.
absolutely. But you mentioned the Evercade, so I'm assuming you mean the
Yeah,
console Evercade,
right.
because you got quests or shoot,
I've done work with them 3 times. I did Quest Arrest,
yeah,
Gelatinous, and Big to Small are all
okay.
on the Evercade
They're all on the
console
Evercade
now.
now. Okay, I only remember Quest Arrest getting the colorized version for the Evercade Indie Heroes cartridge. So you've been
I've
able to
been,
do two
I've,
more with them, yeah?
yeah, and I've been meaning to release like the color version other places, but I just haven't gotten around to it. It's gonna happen.
I mean, it made it very special for the Evercade for the last
Yeah,
little while that it's been available. I mean, that's really special. So, I mean, it'll
I
be
thought that
cool
was
to see it
cool.
come
Yeah,
to a physical cartridge as well. But I don't know. I think
yeah,
that worked
yeah.
out, personally, I think that worked out really well for
I
both of
agree,
you.
and they also helped me like in my career, so I really got to give it to them. They opened the door for me to meet some people that are important.
Yeah,
And obviously they had already licensed Chip Challenge too.
oh, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, they
so
released it as part of their Links collection, right?
exactly, yeah. So
Yeah.
they already had the connections, and they just kind of introduced me.
Yeah, that's fun.
Which, yeah,
I've done some promotion for their stuff when I was doing Game Tyrant, but I mean, I never really got to talk to them much, but I really appreciate their concept. Like, I'm finally getting an
yeah,
Evercade Versus and getting into the ecosystem, so I'm like, yes, finally.
yeah. Well, I can say that the owner is a really cool dude. He's nice.
Yeah,
So
he seems good.
yeah, he's a good guy.
Um, but shifting gears,
Yeah,
so we're gonna come back to the unreleased stuff here in a bit because you have a couple or
sure.
a new one that you just announced that I want to talk about. But
Uh-huh.
um, just shifting gears over to the publishing side of things, like how did you get um how do I want to phrase this? How did you essentially just get interested in publishing other people's releases as well as your own?
Well, I feel like it's a real pain to do publishing. Like it's like if you're not into it fully, then it sucks. It's just like not the easiest thing to do, and you're juggling a lot of moving parts, and I was already juggling those moving parts with my own stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of good games out there that developers either they don't have the time, they don't know how, but their games are great, and I feel like if I have the platform, I not only want to be able to help them publish, but I would like to promote their games and showcase them to the world.
Hmm.
So, and I've been able to work with a lot of great developers through that process for that exact reason. It's just I thought their games were great, like big to small. Matt came to me, and he only had like 40 people who had played the game through like downloading the ROM, and I was like, dude, this game is. It looks all cutesy putesy, but dude, it's like a hardcore puzzle game, dude. It's
It
like,
really is.
and it's really good, dude. He masterminded through that, and I just felt like it needed to be seen. I was like, man, like if I can help it, I want people to be able to see it, like, and I'm sure I can show my Twitter people this, and they'll appreciate it the same way that I do, and more than 40 people will play it. So that was the whole concept behind that. It was like, dude, that's a good game, and he works a full-time job. He has a family. He just didn't have time to really put the promotion in after he created it. So I
Yeah.
just took over.
No, that's really cool to hear. And I mean, Big to Small is a Game Boy Color game, yet it's released also on N64 and Dreamcast of all
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
which is really fun. And
yeah.
I'm assuming it's just essentially using Game Boy Color emulation for both those systems, since those emulators
Right.
are very easy and
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good
And
for those systems on that.
it, again, the idea is just to put the game in as many hands as possible.
Oh yeah.
So, that was really the idea behind that, and I think Matt was really, really happy with the results because at the end of the day, he just wanted people to play his game, and now people are playing his game. It's hanging on your shelf right now, and I was able to put some money in his pocket too. So that's cool to me.
Absolutely. It's funny. I talk to you, and the way you talk about this stuff is very reminiscent to why I started doing this kind of stuff as well. It's like I want to showcase cool stuff that people might not know about, and
Yeah.
so I'm loving to hear your side of it too, because it's just like, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that there's like other people who feel the same way, that I'm able to like, because I feel like this stuff is cool,
Hmm.
and I was in this like black hole for a long time before I started the retro room, like just in my basement, like just messing with this stuff, and like now there's this audience who's appreciating it with me, and I'm like, how lucky am I, man?
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh man, but yeah. So I mean, that's the great thing about Big to Small. Like, it is a Game Boy Color game, but because it's able to run on N64 and stuff, like you get the diehards like me. You're like, oh, N64 game, insta buy, don't care, and then play it and be like,
Yeah,
oh, this
yeah.
is awesome. Like that is a
It
very tough puzzle game as you get further into it. Like
really
it
is.
gets up
Yeah.
there and it's pretty intense. Um,
It is, man, and it's a good one again that I felt needed to be showcased, and yeah, I'm just glad that I was able to work with Matt on that.
yeah, that's great. I'm glad it's worked out. Um, Another really hard one that you did was for me at least was the Satyr in Hell.
Oh
that
man,
game
yeah, that's
is
a brutal one.
that game is so insanely brutal.
The
Oh
the
man.
developer Dimitri is from Greece, I believe, and he's an interesting guy, and he's made some cool games, and I hope to publish more of his games, honestly. But
Ah,
yeah,
that'd be
that
great to
one's
see.
that one's really really a tough puzzle game too. It's like an action kind of puzzle game.
It's
It's a toughie.
intense. I mean, for
Yeah, yeah.
anyone that wants their 90s hard video games, 80s hard video games, like that's definitely the one they should be checking out.
And I suck at video games, dude. I'm really terrible. Like, and whenever I play it, I'm just like, oh my god, this is intense
Oh
for
man.
sure.
It's fun. I'm really interested in seeing what comes out from the company coming forward, that's for sure. But at the same time, you're also the first person to release like a physical Saturn homebrew release,
Dude, yeah, yeah.
which
That was like
is
some. I
intense.
wanted to put a check mark next to that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah. Eh,
there's a new engine that people are developing for the Sega Saturn, so I'm assuming a lot more games are going to come out soon.
oh yeah,
And I wanted to really, I wanted to promote the fact that it could be done. You
yeah,
know, it's like, okay, we took a really, and the game is like more of a visual novel. It's really simple, but I wanted to just prove like we can make physicals of this. Homebrew community, start making games because guess what? We can legitimize them, you know, and
for sure.
so that was the hopes there, you know. I
Yeah.
actually lost a lot of money on publishing that game. Don't even care. You know what I'm saying? Like the point was that I wanted the community to know that it could be done and that start producing more Saturn games because I love that console.
Yeah, Saturn. I picked it up in 2016. It's become one of my favorites for sure.
It's
It's
so good.
it really is. It really is, especially
Yeah,
when someone can fully take advantage of it. And so when you
it's
announced
great.
that one, I was super excited. I didn't pick that one up yet, unfortunately. I really hope to in the future. And I do have my pseudo Saturn cart, so I'm all ready to go.
All right, there you go. Yeah, it's one of those things where I just really wanted to see more. And now since I've released that game, I've seen so much more Saturn homebrew, and I'm like, dude, I got to do another release.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Um, and like those discs, are they being like actually pressed? They're not just like a CDR, right?
They're being pressed,
They're being
yeah,
pressed. Very nice.
yeah,
Okay. Like I
yeah. I
said, I
wish
don't
I had
have
one.
that one, so I just have to ask.
I wish I had one in front of me, but yeah, they're like they're legit looking. You know,
Oh, that's beautiful.
they're it's a really clean product, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's a really short game, and it's more of a visual novel than a game. I would say there's some like small parts where you can play, but it was just more of a proof of concept.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Um, okay. So looking onto the systems that you've covered so far: Game Boy, Game Boy Color, N64, Dreamcast, Saturn. I say Genesis yet? Super Nintendo. What system would you really like to cover as part of the
Super
Retro Room
Nintendo,
games?
Super Nintendo,
Which one?
easy, hands down. Super Nintendo, hands down.
What about
Yeah,
a system you
it's
haven't worked on yet?
you're saying I thought you were asking like what's my favorite one that I've covered.
Oh, okay.
Um, if I could, let's see. You know, I would really love to do like some low poly stuff on the PS1.
Ooh,
I think that would slap really hard,
that'd be fun.
like some good horror or you know something maybe even like doing a sequel in 3D of something that I've done before. But the PS1's just so hard to work with because of the copyright protection and
Yeah.
people would have to have modded consoles or we'd have to find out some other way. And I've looked into ways of like doing certain things like you can develop for the PS2 and trick the console into thinking that it's a DVD.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll play like burned games, you know, so you can like actually develop for the PS2, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, it would be really hard to do. I've covered a lot of ground whenever it comes to the retro consoles, and you know I'd love to do other stuff. Like I have some licenses coming up for some obscure consoles, the CDI and the 3DO, you know,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
yeah, and I'm really excited to showcase like some unreleased content for them, you know, like some canceled games, you know, that we're actually going to give a physical release to. But you know, other than that, I can't think of, you know, the Turbo Graphics would be cool. The what what is the one that Nintendo released? Their little, is it
Oh,
the
Virtual
Visual
Boy.
Boy? Virtual Boy. It'd be
Yeah.
cool to develop something for that.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh, I bleed.
it would be fun. You know, but I think I'm like interested in doing some publishing for like modern consoles soon.
Oh yeah,
You
that'd
know,
be really cool.
I would like to you know I got like partnership with Microsoft for publishing on the Xbox, which I'm working on. But I'd like to do the Switch and the PlayStation, and I think like taking some of these titles that I've previously worked on and putting them on those modern consoles would be like awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, imagine big to small coming to Switch and Xbox. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, it feels like a lot of people that do this always get Switch and Xbox because PlayStation's so much harder to like get approval on, it seems.
It definitely, yeah, I see that. Nintendo's hard enough. It's a tough cookie to crack,
Yeah.
but it just broadens that audience of people being able to play. My 9-year-old nephew can't play. He doesn't have a Super Nintendo, or a Game Boy, but definitely has a Switch.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I've been doing some review stuff with 8-Bit Legits. I mean, they do heavily Xbox and Nintendo as well.
yeah, I was in communication with them to try to do some work with them for sure.
Oh, that'd be a cool
So
partnership.
yeah, definitely. It's really cool people for sure.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed working with them too. But you kind of gave us a nice segue back into unreleased games. So, what made you? Would you say Ski Free is what made you like jump into the unreleased and canceled game segment for the
I
Retro Room
was
games?
I was like kind of handed a menu of games that I could license, right? And one of them on there was a Dune game, and they were like, I you could license it, but you're never going to be able to get Warner Brothers on board, And I'm like, yeah, but maybe we can do something else, maybe we can rip out all the Dune content and release it as its own, and
Yep.
that's exactly what we did. We ripped out all the Dune content, rewrote things and changed things, and you were actually part of that project. So
Yes, I was.
yeah, you know a lot about how that went down, So yeah, there it is. Ellen
That is
DeGeneres.
why this
Yeah.
game stays up on my shelf because I actually got to
You got some credits on that.
play a
Yeah.
role in this one.
Yeah, you did some writing too. You did
Yeah, I
some producing, if you will.
I reached out to you for testing it since I still do my independent testing gigs, and
Right.
found it to be really fun. And I remember you
We
saying
needed
that
help.
you and
Yeah.
Budget Nostalgia were really busy with some other aspects of it. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
I was going through it and I was like, yeah, I could still see a lot of the Dune references still lingering in here. A couple of find and replace errors going on in here, which is fine. And so,
Yeah.
for Ellen, I just reached out to John and said, hey, send me the script. I'll fix this up for you. And
Yeah, we needed help, man,
he
because like I'm
he
not
let
very
me do it.
proficient with Dune.
Yeah, so that
I
was great.
you knew Dune really well, obviously. Like
Yeah, I did.
you're like very into. I didn't know it, So like and we needed the help, dude. So we really appreciate you helping us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and got to be my first copy edit credit, I guess, with many more to come,
Okay.
hopefully.
Yeah, that's cool. And
Little shout out to my friend Travis here, real quick. Got to
sure.
help copy edit some of his newest book too.
Oh, cool. Okay. Project Dolphin. I love it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like
big GameCube fan.
GameCube is awesome. That's another console that'd be cool to develop for.
Yeah, I just saw. Well, I mean, didn't just see, but I mean, a little bit ago, Bitmap Bureau released Xenocrisis on it. So apparently, there's a way to still press GameCube discs that are bootable. So I
You
mean,
know, I would kill to be a fly on the wall in their office to figure that out.
I know, right?
It's like one of those things. So if I ever get the knowledge, I'll share it with the world. Trust me.
Oh, that would
I'll
be
scream
awesome.
it. I'll scream it from the rooftops, which is probably why they won't ever let me in their office. But
Trade
yeah,
secrets. Trade secrets.
yeah, I'd be like, this is how you publish on the GameCube. So, but yeah,
I imagine it won't stay secret for much longer, and so I'm hoping to see some Retro Room games on there,
yeah,
and just some unreleased GameCube stuff getting brought back to life.
dude, that'd be great. That'd be so
There's
cool.
so
Like,
many potential candidates for GameCube. Like, sorry, I'm like my mind is racing on potential
oh
unreleased GameCube
yeah,
games now.
absolutely. Like just in general, like I've been trying to get my hands on unreleased games like nonstop now. It's like become this race, like especially because it makes me sad. Whenever I released Ellen, the original developers, reached out to me and they thanked me because they had already been paid to the development studio. Sure, like yeah, we got a paycheck, but we never got to see this project we worked on for a freaking year released to the public. Like
Yep.
nobody saw it. It just got snuffed out because of some company bureaucracy or whatever. Who knows? I don't
And
even
it's
know
such a
why.
good game too, for what it
It really
is.
is. It's a cool one, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude, it just kind of the companies just kind of don't care. It's just like I don't know why, like it happens, but
I mean, corporate. You got the artists and you got the corporate back end, and the corporate back end don't give a crap like the artists do, you know?
and it's a problem too because I have reached out to several like big companies like me trying to get ski free or like other canceled games from companies like EA or whatever these big monster companies and they want so much money, dude, for these licenses. They want so much money, and I'm like, dude, it's an intellectual property that first of all you're not using at all, and second of all you could make any amounts of money off of rather than none. But
Yeah.
they choose none. They choose none. They're like, oh, give us $50,000 million, and I'm like, dude, I don't have that kind of money. What are you talking about, dude? I run a retro game studio. Like, dude, I don't even make that much money. Like,
Yeah.
so, it's one of those things where it's weird that they will just sit on it till it dies.
Yeah. And I mean, at the same time, that's their right, but it is really sad to see so many good potential opportunities go to waste, especially in the like our segment of gaming is growing so exponentially.
Right.
And companies like yours, 8-Bit Legit, um, Retrobit Publishing, Limited Run Games' retro re-release compilations show that there is a growing
A market.
demand
Right.
for this segment. So I don't know, man. Maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll start seeing these companies' attitudes shift
It
towards
amazes me. Yeah, it really
working
amazes
with it.
me.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, it amazes me to see them not do it because it's just
yeah,
like they're not using it. Like Mr. Tough, the one we just announced.
yeah,
Like they were not using that at all. I mean, it was like passed around by all these big companies because one company would swallow another company and nobody was doing anything with it, and it just becomes this thing that just hides under the bed.
yeah. And I mean, that's the other nightmare of the licensing side of things. I'm sure is just tracking down who actually has the license for a lot of these older properties because most of these '90s
Yeah,
studios have folded into another company or just dissolved outright, and
right.
like the IP just might be reverted back to the original creator a lot of the times too.
Who knows, dude? I was trying to get a license for the Oregon Trail,
Oh man.
and to try to figure out who the hell owns the Oregon Trail has been like the weirdest thing ever. Like some people own parts of it, and I'm just like, and there's people still releasing Oregon Trail games. These companies, and of course the studios who are releasing the games, they're not going to tell me who they got a license from or this or that. It's super secret information or whatever, and nobody wants to talk.
Nope.
So it's weird, and I don't know. I think Mattel owns the Oregon Trail now. So
Oh man, who
it was
knows?
originally the Learning Company, and
Yeah.
they got swallowed up by a bunch of mergers or whatever. So
Yeah. It's like anything they and like border bun or whatever they were called back in then. I don't know. Like just all their stuff is just so obscure.
I wanted to make like a real time strategy Oregon Trail,
Oh,
and I thought
that
that
would be
that would be
interesting.
I thought it would be cool, and a company was talking to me like they had owned the rights and they were going to give me a license, and they just like went away, just stopped responding. Okay, whatever.
All right. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Again, being able to talk to so many different people about licensing IPs, like I know exactly the struggle.
It's a pain,
And
man.
and
It
and you
really
talk
is.
about it, it's just like, yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah,
Par for the course,
that's
I
the way that
guess.
it is. It's really like half the battle, really.
Yeah.
So,
Um, Going back to just like a little fun question here. If there was one
mhm.
unreleased game on your radar that you could have the rights to and get it programmed and get it out there, do you have one on the top of your head that you would go for?
Final Fantasies for the N64.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that was like something that was going on, and I'm like, okay, I would love to release that game.
Could
That
you
would be cool.
imagine finishing Final Fantasy VII for N64? Like,
Dude, even if I had to rename it and I could just use like the assets, like it looked like it was going to be pretty cool. But yeah, if I could work on that, that would be great. I would also like to work on like Silent Hill. I always liked the Silent Hill franchise. It would be cool to make like a retro style Super Nintendo Silent Hill.
oh, that would be
But yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I think it would be cool, right? And
That would be really interesting.
like like a demake,
Yeah.
So, but there's no way, that they're gonna ask for $1 billion for me to be able to do that.
I mean, Konami.
So yeah, these companies,
Yeah.
they just want money, and I get it. That's what they are, like corporations, But
Yeah. Bottom line.
it snuffs out a lot of good art,
Really does. Oh, man. Robotech for N64. I think
Robotech.
I think that would be my biggest canceled game to get released.
I didn't know I didn't know it was even a thing.
Yeah, there was a.
That's the robot fighting game, right?
It's the anime, where it would
got you,
transform
got
from
you.
plane to Guardian to Battleoid and Battle Pods and.
I didn't know that they had planned to make that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, it actually got fairly far in development. There's beta builds out there of like you could fly the ships and do various things, but like a lot of the logic doesn't work. And so that would be a cool one for me to see someone go back and finish one day. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, right. Maybe if I could pull some strings.
I need to finish learning how to program for N64. I'll jump on board that one.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. That'd be awesome, honestly.
Lot to learn still. I just decided I was gonna try to learn how to program for N64, and it's not going well.
It's programming in general is like a hard, tough thing to do. So I bet you're doing great.
Appreciate it. But anyway. So, how many projects have you gotten out the door to date since you started Retro Room Games?
I want to say like 15, maybe. But I have some like that there's one game that I can't say the title of, but I've been working on it for like 3 years, dude. And
Ooh.
it's a port of a Commodore 64 game to the Game Boy Color. And
oh wow.
And the reason why it's so difficult is the company is so like picky. Like they want it to be like the exact same game, which I understand, ported. They went, and I'm like, dude, the Game Boy Color works a lot different than the Commodore, and we're working with a square, not a rectangle, or whatever, it's like. So the old game is like a different aspect ratio, and I'm working with the Game Boy, and you have to zoom in a little bit. But yeah, I've been really struggling and trying to get it done for a long time. And there's a few games that are exactly that way, where it's just like one day I'll talk about them because it won't matter, but right now it's like, dude, I'm still trying to get these games out there, and
oh, for sure.
3 years of work, really 2.5 years of work. So it's I feel bad for the developers that I work with. I'm like starting the cycle over again with the canceled projects thing, but it's just one of those things where the companies just don't want to budge,
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, and again, it just comes down to those license holders just being license holders.
Truly, like a struggle, sucks.
Yeah, I really hope people understand just how insane it is to work with license holders, just from hearing you talk about it. And then again, I mean, I have other knowledge of things about license holders that I can work off of. So, I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it, but it's just great to hear you talk about it too, just to really drive home that, yeah, even if we want stuff to happen, the license holders can just destroy all hope of that happening.
well, that's why I love these vigilantes who are like, haha, I ripped the ROM and released it to the internet, and like, here it is, I love it, it's like most companies would be like against that, but I'm like, dude, I'm so for that because that might be the only way we get to try it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and
I'm a big I'm a big fan of preservation and stuff like that. Definitely. Otherwise, we wouldn't have some of the builds that we have on some of these games, like Robotech and other various
right.
ones.
Well,
So
I have complete games that I'm like not able to release because the licensing, it's like,
yeah.
one of these days I might have to have a data breach or something, I don't know how else to get them out there, dude. Somebody come rob me.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know how else to get them out there. It's
Oh,
one of
that
those
email
things.
was meant to go to the license holder, not to you.
Yeah, right. Like I got hacked,
Whoops.
man.
You better
So
not.
yeah, it's one of those things where like one of these days, like I don't know, I don't know how to get the games out there. So,
Yeah.
but I refuse to not let them see the light of day. So
Yeah. And again, I think that's one of the things that has definitely resonated in the community about retro room games as a whole is just, oh, look at this. These have never been released. This is a canceled game that has now been brought to light. Oh, we're
yeah,
getting another canceled game that hasn't been brought to light. And I mean, that's what's super exciting about the announcements when you make them, for me at least. Like, I like your publishing side, but when you're announcing those unreleased games, that's definitely like the whole moment.
oh, it's my favorite part. Yeah, it's my favorite too. Trust me. Like if I can get my hands, I love doing indie games because the developers deserve it, and it's really fun. But
And they're passionate.
the big shebang is those unreleased or canceled games.
Oh, for sure.
Those ones are fun.
What would you say your top 3 favorite projects are that you've gotten to work on, that you've released, so you can talk about them?
Probably Mr. Tough is the most recent one. I have been trying to obtain the rights to that for a long time, for like over a year,
Oh wow.
and just trying to get all of these people who were involved in the project and the license holder to like not sue me or to be on board was such a grueling process. Uh, and I really love the game. It's so good. It's so fun. It was released late in the Super Nintendo cycle, so it was overshadowed, and that's why it got canceled. But it was almost essentially finished. We finished it, but it was so close to being finished, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
just such a cool game with cool mechanics, and it made me. I was astonished that it didn't get released, like even late, like just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So Mr. Tough was like one that I was so excited to release. Obviously, another one would be Chips Challenge because I grew up playing Chips Challenge. Whenever I was texting my childhood friend, like, dude, I'm gonna release Chips Challenge, like I get to work with Chips Challenge, like it was so cool feeling, and it was just that was a really great like concept to be a part of. Like, dude, I can't tell you how excited I was whenever like everything got finalized, and I'm like, dude, I own the license now. It's time. I can do what I want with Chips Challenge, this game that I loved growing up. The third one, of course, would be Ellen because I feel like there was like a culture statement. It's funny, man. I was working on Ellen, and then I saw the Dune movie was about to come out,
Yes.
and I was like, now is the time. I was
Oh yeah.
like, we gotta wrap this up because I certainly cannot say anything about it being tied together because that would be a breach of copyright or whatever.
Yeah.
So I stepped back and we showed screenshots and we let the media do what the media does best. You know what I'm saying? And they ran their mouths.
Oh yeah.
So, and it was right at the time when the movie came out. So I just knew it was going to be a hit, and it took off. So that was a lot of fun to watch happen. It was interesting to be a part of that publicity statement there, where it's like, okay, we can't talk about this being what it actually is, but you all know what it is, and whenever you see it, you guys are going to scream it, not me.
For
So
sure. I
that was fun.
definitely took part in that.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to see that kind of roll out, and we didn't have anything to do with it. So but the media they did their thing, and
Yeah,
it helped.
that one got a ton of publicity. Like it got picked up by
Dude,
like
I've never been
every major
written about.
publication I can think of that I,
Dude, it was crazy, and it was really fun to watch. Like, yeah, yeah, it
yeah.
was cool. I've never been written about by IGN or some of these bigger companies, and they started talking about it. I'm like, whoa.
And
So,
you released the ROM for that one on Steam too, didn't you?
so another company that licensed it, they took what we created and released it on Steam.
Oh, okay.
So I get royalties from it, but I have nothing to do with it.
Okay. But yeah, that one is available on Steam where you can get it from John's site in physical or ROM format as well, I believe.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Definitely
yeah,
get it in physical. Gotta get it in
yeah,
physical. Get that beautiful box.
physical all day, baby.
Beautiful.
I love it.
No, I'm
But
really
yeah,
glad this one turned out so well.
so
And
am I.
it's not just because I attached my name to it as well.
Yeah, and Warner Brothers still hasn't come for my throat, you know. So
Hey,
we're
even
yeah,
better.
yeah, right. So we're good there, you know.
Oh man. No, I'm a big fan of what you've managed to build in such a short time, and
Yeah,
I'm
I'm a
happy that
fan of
we
yours.
could have a bit of a discussion about it, try to bring more awareness to what you do. So
Yeah.
everyone, be sure to share this video far and wide. That way you help John and myself, because we're passionate about this stuff, and you love us.
Right. And I am a fan of yours as well. So I definitely am a fan of your work, and
I
I love
appreciate it.
I love your YouTube channel, man. You definitely have like an interesting niche. So it's cool.
It is what it is. It's been a lot of
I like
fun.
it. Yeah, I've liked it through the years. I really have.
Eh,
So
well, here's to many more years of us being able to share our passions with a lot of different people and working together on different things. Again, I'm always free for your testing needs, man.
and you know what? I might take advantage of that coming up soon because I have
Oh,
some
looking
projects
forward to
for
it.
sure. Yeah, me too.
All right. So, John, thank you again for joining me. Let's go ahead and round this one out. We're hitting that 50-minute mark here, so don't want to take
Got
up
you,
too
man.
much more of your time. We'll save that for
We
a
have,
part two a little bit down the road,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we could chat for hours,
Oh,
man.
absolutely. But for everyone that has watched to this point, let us know which games from Retro Room Games you have picked up. Let us know your favorite ones and just some wish list items that maybe you'd like to see come from canceled
Yeah,
projects here. Just to get
that's
some
good.
nice content ideas flowing here to see what happens in the future. I don't know. If you just
Hey,
want to
I'll
call me
always try.
stupid, you could do that too. I don't really care. But
There's always one guy, right?
always. Oh man. But John, thanks again for joining us. We'll catch you
Yeah,
back soon,
thank
I'm
you.
sure.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Ryan. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.